The president of the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador, Leonidas Iza, announced he will run for presidency in the upcoming snap general elections. Cuba and the European Union evaluate in Havana the status of the implementation of the political dialogue and cooperation agreement in the context of the Third Joint Council of the Parties. In Palestine, supporters of the resistance group Hamas denounced against the visits by the Israeli far-right groups to the Aqsa mosque compound in Jerusalem in the southern Gaza Strip. Samara Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. On Thursday, the president of the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador, CONAIE, Leonidas Iza, announced he will run for presidency in the upcoming snap general elections. Iza accepted the run in the extraordinary elections despite his prior refusal of any presidential dip. Leonidas Iza leads the main indigenous organizations of Ecuador and was the main figure in June 2022 protests against President Lasso mismanagements and abuses. In Ecuador, a court sentenced on Thursday to 34 years and 8 months in prison to the former policeman Germán Cáceres for the femicide of his wife, the lawyer María Belén Bernal, murdered in 2022 inside a police high school. The magistrate of the Northern Judicial Complex of Quito led the maximum aggravated sentence in the Ecuadorian Penal Code against Cáceres for the crime of femicide and imposed a full reparation for Bernal's family of about $260,000. At the same time, they acquitted policeman Alfonso Camacho, who had been charged by the prosecutor's office for an alleged crime of omission. The Public Prosecutor's Office of El Salvador announced the arrest of 5 people accused of being responsible for the stampede at the Cuscatlán football stadium in the capital. The detained are linked to the death of 12 people killed and 100 wounded. They are accused of homicide, culpable injuries, and public damage, according to the Attorney General's office. The organizers, having exhausted the available tickets for the sporting event, decided to illegally sell tickets issued for previous matches, added the statement. In Brazil, the government of President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva opens this Friday the inscriptions for the program More Health for Brazil, formerly More Doctors, with 5,870 vacancies covering all regions of the country. It is expected that healthcare services will reach 1,994 municipalities, and the professionals will start working by the end of June. The social program was relaunched by Lula to guarantee medical care to the outskirts inhabitants, countrysides, and vulnerable communities such as indigenous and quilombolas or Afro-Brazilians. In Brazil, Sao Paulo's second intense court has ratified a sentence against former President Jair Bolsonaro on the charge of collective moral damages to journalists for his Korean attack on the press. The sentence carries a fine of about $10,000. The former president, leader of the ultra-right, has been facing several judicial problems since the end of his term in December 31st. The Rincon de la Vieja volcano in northern Costa Rica had a powerful eruption with no report damages to people or infrastructure 1 month after the last notable eruptive event. According to Cyril Mueller, expert of Volcanological and Seismological Observatory of the National University of Costa Rica, the plum compounds of water and volcanic material reach a height of more than 3,000 meters above the crater level. In this sense, authorities issue a level 2 out of 4 alert, which means a state of significance is a seismic and small eruption with emissions of acid gases.
The volcano Rincón de la Vieja had a powerful eruption. The plume of water, steam, and volcanic material reached a height of 3,000 meters above the crater. It generated lahars on the north side. The lahars are a mixture of mud and hot water, which come out from the lake when an eruption occurs.
Let's take a very short break now, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Cuba and the European Union evaluate on Friday in Havana the status of the implementation of the political dialogue and cooperation agreements in the context of the Third Joint Council of the Parties. These meetings will be chaired by the Cuban Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Bruno Rodriguez, and by the High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy and Vice President of the European Commission, Josep Borrell. The cooperation agreement was signed on December 12, 2016 between Cuba and the European Union and began to be provisionally implemented on November 1, 2017 in the context of the Third Joint Council of the Parties. In Cuba, the President of the National Assembly of People's Powers, Esteban Las Fernandez, informed on Thursday about the constitution of the 11 commissions of other parliamentary work and appointed the president of each one of them. According to Lasso, commissions have a diverse composition to guarantee and favor its functioning and people's fair representation. In addition, he said that priority has been given to the existence of each commission of constituency delegates, presidents of municipal and provincial assemblies.
Que están prácticamente trabajando con 4,000, 5,000 pesos de salario. Cuando hay trabajadores en el sector.
With the President of the Army, General Raúl Castro, and Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel, the second extraordinary session of the 10th legislature of the Cuban Parliament was held on Thursday at the Havana's International Convention Center. From Havana, our correspondent Fabiola Lopez tells us about it.
The second extraordinary session of the 10th legislature of the Cuban Parliament began with an update on the country's economic situation. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Economy and Planning, Alejandro Gil, explained to the deputies that agricultural production and inflation are two of the biggest challenges facing the national economy. Gil said that the country urgently needs to curb the deficit in agricultural production and warned that without agricultural production, there can be no price control.
There are different causes for the current inflation, some of which we cannot solve. There is an inflation that has to do with the increase in purchases and exports. There are many raw materials that we have to import, which we don't produce in the country, that have become more expensive, in some cases twice as much. If compared to 2019, I'll give you an example. A sheet of cooking oil for the ration car quota in 2019 it cost $8 million. Today it costs 16 million. Although we have had delays, we have continued to provide that ration of oil. Then there is the inflation caused by inefficiency, low yields, which translates to prices, which we could counter with more efficiency and innovation, being better organized and with more discipline.
Thursday's agenda also included the debate on the draft bill on social communication, which passed with an unanimous vote, and which has been described by experts and deputies as necessary, timely, pertinent, and audacious.
This is not only the first higher law derived directly not just from a constitution, but from a socialist constitution. Members of the parliament, the historical significance of this law goes far beyond our geography. In addition, this will be the first all-comprehensive communications law in Latin America as it goes beyond sectors. Usually, communication is approached by sectors and services, but this law brings them all together, which is unprecedented and a long-time aspiration by both professionals and academics in Latin America with whom we have often discussed this issue.
President Miguel Díaz-Canel said that the social communication law is a first step in the process of organizing the communication system in Cuba.
As the law is a norm with a high strategic impact, which will regulate one of the areas under attack. Debates mostly focused on specific aspects of the norm that could favor or legitimize certain subversive elements which could affect national security. In a context of intense media warfare, the main points raised at such debates were made from a preventive standpoint against such subversion, focusing mostly on who should own the media and how to regulate sponsorship, especially sponsorship of the arts. In that line, changes were made to avoid ambiguities or possible misinterpretation that could contradict the spirit and the letter of the Constitution.
The Cuban president said that adhering to ethics, virtue, and responsibility without rhetoric, with convincing arguments and a true feeling, the revolution is true dialogue and does not negotiate its existence.
Fabiola López, TeleSUR, La Habana.
On Friday in Switzerland, during a press conference in Geneva, World Health Organization's Director of Health Promotion, Rudiger Skert, presented an initiative to encourage and enable farmers to switch from tobacco production to other crops. On the eve of the World's No Tobacco Day to be celebrated in May the 31st, he called on farmers to do so.
Dear colleagues, it's often said that tobacco farming would be so important for economic growth. This is a myth that we urgently need to dispel. It only contributes to less than 1% of global GDP. It is only more than 1% in 5 countries in the world. So what do? We use, as I said, the purchasing power of the UN. So the FAO helps farmers to develop the capacities to switch from tobacco to another crop. So not all soils are good for all crops. So our colleagues in the FAO, they actually give capacity development to the farmers to say, well, within your environment, this is the best crop that you could use. They also train them how to then do the growing of the alternative crop.
teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat. Dial 461 and join our Latin American alternative broadcast. One financial break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Friday in Palestine, supporters of the resistance group Hamas demonstrate against visits by the Israeli far-right group to the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem in the southern Gaza Strip. Thousands of Palestinians took part in the rally in Khan Yunis, south of the Gaza Strip, in protest of non-stop Israeli attacks on the Aqsa mosque in occupied Jerusalem. 252 Israeli soldiers on Thursday forced their way into the Aqsa mosque compound under heavy protection by Israeli forces on the occasion of a Jewish holiday. Also, whereas Israeli groups earlier called on soldiers to intensify their assaults on the Aqsa mosque on the occasion of the holidays activities of Shavuot on the Thursday and Friday.
The resistance, wherever it's present and using all its tools, will not allow the crimes of the occupation in Aqsa to pass without making it pay the price. No matter how long it takes, it will not allow the partition plans to pass. The religious war that the occupation is carrying out in Jerusalem and Al-Aqsa represents the highest form of aggression against our people and our nation. The occupation bears full responsibility for the repercussion of the policy of Judaization and its attempts to divide Al-Aqsa.
Meanwhile, on Friday, an unarmed Israeli shelter killed a Palestinian near the town of Ada, the Hira, southwest of the occupied city of Hebron. The health ministry confirmed that the victim succumbed to shots wounded sustained near the colonial settlements of Tener Ormin, established on land legally seized by the Israeli state in the southern West Bank. According to Israeli media, that says illegally infiltrated the colonial settlements and attempted to carry out an avian attack through there were no reports of Israeli casualties. In South Africa, Fulhens Kajishma, one of the last fugitives sought for their role in the 1994 Rwandan genocide, appeared before the Cape Town court on Friday, 2 days before being arrested following the 2 years of the Rwanda. According to the state prosecutors, the former Rwandan police officer faces charges including genocide and conspiracy to commit genocide relating to the slaughter of more than 2,000 people in Rwanda in 1994. Ikishima was a fugitive from justice since 2001 when the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda indicted him for genocide over his role in the destruction of the Nanning Catholic Church in the Kibuye prefecture.
It also appears that
Former Rwandan police officer is accused of ordering the killing of more than 800,000 ethnic Tutsi and Hutu moderates who were seeking shelters in the Nanning Catholic Church. The Rwandan genocide occurred between April the 7th and July the 15th, 1984, and was orchestrated by the armed Hutu militias and meticulously executed by local officials. Africa's largest polio vaccination drive since 2020 to target 21 million children under the age of 5 kicked off on Friday in 3 U.S. and Central African countries. This has been enforced by national health authorities with the support of the World Health Organization, beginning on Cameroon, Chad, and Nigeria before being extended to the Central African Republic next week. And it comes in response to the campaign total of 19 detected cases of type 2 polio viruses in these countries. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For telesur English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.